They say the big bad wolf tricked her. They say she was naive. They say she was saved by a huntsman. But what if they lied? What if Red Riding Hood was never the victim? What if she had a knife under her cloak, and she knew exactly what she was doing? The village knew her as Leela, just Leela. But the crimson cloak that clung to her shoulders like blood on snow earned her a new name. Red Riding Hood. No one asked why she wore red. No one dared. Because red meant danger. Red meant don't cross her. They whispered stories about her. A little girl whose father was murdered in the woods, mother gone mad with grief. Raised by her grandmother, a mysterious woman who lived deep in the Black Forest, rumored to be a healer, or a witch. Lila was trained in silence. Taught that the world wouldn't always offer a hero, so she became her own. The wolf wasn't always a wolf. Once he was a man, charming, clever, the kind who smiled with his teeth but not his eyes. He lured victims with compliments, promises, and manipulation. A predator disguised in elegance. But every time he hunted the weak, he changed, piece by piece, lie by lie. He became what he truly was inside, a monster. A shapeshifter with a hunger for innocence and a taste for fear. His next target? The little girl in red? Only. She wasn't so little anymore. Leela walked the narrow forest path, basket in hand, lantern swaying with each step. Inside were herbs, dried mushrooms, a bottle of elderberry wine, and a hidden blade tucked just beneath a red apple. She didn't flinch when the shadows moved beside her. "Good evening, little girl," came a silky voice. "What's a fragile thing like you doing out here alone?" She stopped, smiled, looking for wolves. The wolf stepped into view, tall, with eyes like storm clouds. He grinned, amused. "Brave or stupid?" "Prepared," she said. They walked side by side, tension thick like fog. The wolf asked questions, trying to learn her path, but she never gave a straight answer. What he didn't know is that she'd already spotted the blood on his claws, the stray piece of cloth hanging from his teeth. It looked like it belonged to another girl. She knew. She always knew. She reached her grandmother's cabin at dusk, a crooked house with smoke curling from the chimney. But something was wrong. The birds weren't singing. The door was slightly ajar. She stepped in. "Silence, grandmother," she called. No answer. She set the basket down and calmly walked to the fireplace. The ashes were warm. Someone had been here recently. Then she heard it. A voice, raspy but familiar. "Come closer, child." There in bed lay the wolf, dressed in her grandmother's clothes, poorly disguised. The hood drawn low. "What big eyes you have," she whispered, stepping closer. "The better to see you with, my dear. What big hands you have, the better to hold you with. What big teeth you have." Suddenly her voice turned cold. "The better to bury in your throat?" And with one swift motion, she drew the blade from beneath her cloak and lunged. The wolf snarled, shifting into his full form. Massive, black-furred, claws tearing through the wooden floor. They fought. Tooth against steel, fang against fury. She was thrown against the wall. Blood trickled from her forehead, but she stood. "You thought I was prey," she spat, "but I was the trap." She slashed his leg. He howled. The cabin echoed with violence, but her rage was older than the trees. It wasn't just about her grandmother. It was about every girl who had ever been hunted. And tonight, the hunter would fall. With a final thrust, she drove the blade deep into his chest. His eyes widened. Then silence. She sat by the fire, breathing heavy, her red cloak stained darker than before. In the corner, the real grandmother stirred, tied but alive. Lila freed her, hugged her silently. "You're safe now," her grandmother whispered. "No," Lila replied. "We're dangerous now, and the forest would never forget." Whoa, 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 whoa. Wolves vanished from the woods. Because rumors spread, not about a helpless girl, but a warrior in red who didn't wait to be saved. She saved herself, and burned every tale that said otherwise. The old fairy tales taught girls to be sweet, obedient, quiet. They taught them to wait for a prince, for a hunter, for someone to save them. But the real world is not a fairy tale. And maybe the old stories need to be rewritten. Maybe, just maybe, the girl in red didn't need rescuing. She needed revenge. If you enjoyed this dark retelling of a classic fairy tale, hit that like button and subscribe for more twisted stories that flip the script. Have another fairy tale you want to see rewritten? Comment below. Until next time, remember, not every monster hides in the dark, not every girl is scared of the wolf.